One of my most anticipated upcoming game of 2025 is Blue Protocol Star Resonance. And we've just got some exciting updates about the housing system and a rough idea of when the global release might happen. There's also more info from the founder of Bokura, shared in an interview covered by IGN, and some thoughts from the Star Resonance database team who dropped their first ever podcast, which ran for a full 2 hours. In this video, I'll break down the highlights from the latest dev talk, what Roy said in the interview, the SRDB crew's opinions, my own take, and most importantly, when we might see the beta and the global launch. Oh, and did you know? During beta, players were actually role-playing in the game. It's a pretty fun way to pass the time, and honestly, it could really bring some life to the world of BPSR. There's a lot to love here, but also a few red flags. Let's break it down. Alright, let's get into the most talked about question right now. Is Blue Protocol Star Resonance pay to win? According to Roy, the founder of Bokura, the answer is no. He said, "It's not pay to win. There is currency conversion, but it's only for convenience. All progression-related items can be earned through gameplay." Still, the Star Resonance database team had some concerns, and I'm with them on this. The issue is with an item called Blue Orbs. Blue Orbs are used to refine armor, which directly increases your gear's flat stats. The more you use, the better your gear gets. It's time-gated, but even then, it feels a bit too much. Both the SRDB crew and I think this system should be removed. There's also going to be a catch-up system for players who join the game later, which makes sense. And according to some rumors, there might even be a catch-up store added, though that's not confirmed yet. One of the questions from the interview was, how will the game avoid system bloat and complexity over time? Roy explained that instead of constantly adding new systems, they're planning to expand the existing ones. The idea is to keep the core mechanics familiar and accessible, even as the game evolves. Makes sense, though honestly, only time will tell if that approach holds up. System bloat is a big issue with MMOs. The more layers you add, the harder it gets for new players to enjoy the early game without feeling overwhelmed. Personally, I think tutorials should be handled smarter. They shouldn't be one long, never-ending string of pop-ups. A better system would be to trigger tutorials only when a player interacts with a new event, feature, or dungeon, and always give the option to skip or revisit them later. That way, players can just enjoy the game and learn things as they go, without getting buried in explanations right from the start. Doing it this way could really help with long-term player retention. Let's talk about time-gated content. I think we can all agree, most of us aren't fans of it. But according to the SRDB team, BPSR has actually handled it pretty well. They pointed out that time-gated dungeons are only restricted at launch. After some time, they become fully accessible. This approach helps early on with matchmaking, since everyone is playing the same content at the same time. Later, once the time gate lifts, players can run those dungeons whenever it suits them. And with the catch-up system in place, it doesn't feel punishing for new players either. One interesting thing the SRDB team mentioned is that the catch-up system isn't just for newcomers. Even if you started playing at launch but missed certain content, you'll eventually qualify for the catch-up system too. That's a smart way to keep players from falling behind permanently. Now, a heads up about progression. In Blue Protocol Star Resonance, your progress will partially reset with each new season. The Season Pass introduces seasonal achievements that reset every cycle, replacing the older adventure board system. But don't worry, your core character progression and gear stay intact between seasons. It's just the seasonal objectives that reset. As for the Battle Pass, the SRDB team noted that it was pretty predatory in the first test phase. But in the latest version, it's seen a big improvement, which is definitely a step in the right direction. If we talk about the character class progression, each class has 2 subclasses, which unlocks once you have complete the skill tree of the first one. But before we go further, huge thanks to you guys for supporting this new channel. And if you are new here, hi, I'm Bit. Welcome to EveryBit-Game. According to the SRDB team, subclass balance is still a bit off. In their experience, out of the 2 available subclasses, only one feels strong, the other one just doesn't hold up. And honestly, that's not great. If one subclass is clearly better, there's not much reason for players to pick the weaker one. They also pointed out that tanks are an exception, at least for now, when compared to other classes like Stormblade, Mage, and Ranger. But he did have one criticism: as your block chance increases with skill level, you don't really have to time your blocks anymore. It becomes automatic, which can make the class feel too easy. Some players might enjoy that laid-back playstyle, but others, like me, prefer a bit more engagement. As for overall skill floor and ceiling, SRDB said it feels well balanced. One thing I really appreciate is that the devs were actively adjusting class balance during the beta test. That shows they're paying attention and responding to feedback, which gives me hope that class balance will improve over time. When it comes to guild content, the SRDB team pointed out that some progression materials are locked behind the guild hall. That basically makes joining a guild mandatory for certain upgrades. For solo players, this could feel a bit forced since you can't start a guild by yourself. You need at least 10 players to form one. There are some pretty unique guild activities too, like guild dance battles, which went on all weekend during the beta. On top of that, the guild store offers a few weekly items that help with progression. And there are guild dungeons where you can get extra loot. Now, these items aren't exclusive to guild content, meaning you won't miss out completely if you don't join a guild. But it does mean you have one less way to get progression materials. For solo players worried about socializing, don't stress. You can join a guild and still solo the guild activities on your own. Of course, doing it together is more fun, but it's totally optional. One more thing, trading in BPSR is only possible through the trade shop. That limits the benefit of having multiple alts to boost your main character. Some players might not love that, but I'm fine with it since I'm not a big fan of running alts anyway. Next up, let's talk about life skills. In earlier builds, gathering materials and refining them both used stamina, which really limited how much you could do. But in the latest beta, they changed that. Now, you don't have to spend stamina to gather materials if you don't want to. There's a catch though. Materials gathered without using stamina can only be used personally and can't be sold. Only materials gathered by spending stamina can be sold in the market. This could affect material prices in the shop, but the SRDB team appreciated the change overall. We'll get a clearer picture when the global beta or launch happens. On the housing front, IGN asked Roy whether the system will be available at launch. He confirmed that it will, and said it'll include personal islands or houses where you can live with up to 4 friends. He also promised farming and a solid range of customization options. In the latest dev talk, we actually got a preview of the housing system in development. They showed off farming, house decoration, and a glimpse of the island environment. I'll be honest, it really reminds me of SAO. Now here's where it gets interesting. While Roy said housing will be available at launch, the season roadmap tells a slightly different story. According to the season roadmap, housing will release in beta during Season 1 of the Chinese version, with the full version planned for Season 2, which is scheduled for October. I could be wrong here, but if Roy's statement lines up with the full release of housing system in October, we might be looking at a global release around that time, assuming the global beta rolls out in the next couple of months. Another question from IGN was about language support at launch. Roy confirmed that we can expect English and Japanese voiceovers on day 1, with more languages potentially being added based on community feedback. According to the SRDB team, the English voiceovers are already in progress, so that's one less thing to worry about for the global version. Now let's talk about servers, which is another big concern. Roy mentioned that BPSR will use a mega server setup, meaning everyone, no matter where they're playing from, will be on one same server. The SRDB team touched on this too. Even though they're based in the US, they said they didn't run into any major ping issues. They did use a VPN for the best experience, but it's worth noting that the beta they played wasn't even a global test. It was on Chinese servers. So if they had a smooth experience on a Chinese server, chances are the global version might hold up just fine as well. That said, we'll have to wait and see how well the mega server handles traffic. Once more players start flooding in, I think it's great for the community. Everyone playing together in one shared world, but yeah, ping concerns will always be there in the background. At least for now, it doesn't seem to be a major issue. Controller support has been confirmed. Roy stated that controller support is currently in progress, so it should be ready by launch. As for a console release, He said there are no confirmed plans yet, but all options are being considered. It's also worth mentioning that a lot of people in the community have been asking for Steam Deck support. So far, though, the only officially confirmed platforms are PC and mobile. I do have a couple of concerns I want to mention. First, it looks like the game is taking a China-first approach. That much is clear with the early Chinese release. Personally, I'm not a fan of this. For global players, it means that by the time we get new updates or features, everything will already be out there. Data mined, streamed, and spoiled. That kind of takes away some of the excitement, at least for me. The second concern is about autoplay. Yes, it exists, but hear me out. Roy clarified that auto combat is only available in low difficulty areas and comes with controlled rewards. The SRDB team also confirmed that if you farm field mobs using auto combat, you'll get fewer materials compared to doing it manually. Still, I'm gonna be honest, I'd prefer if it wasn't there at all. Even if it's limited, it kind of takes away from the whole point of active gameplay in an MMO. Well, that wraps up this episode, and honestly, I'm still really excited to try out Blue Protocol Star Resonance. How about you? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you made it this far, do a good deed. Like the video and subscribe to become part of our slowly growing community. Let's enjoy our games together and enjoy every bit of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.